Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Creative Collective podcast. You are on episode 3, and you're joined by myself, Tyron, and my co-host, Tim. He's decided to come back for the 3rd episode, which is really nice of him. So
It's nice when your co-host does this, eh?
welcome back, Tim.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back. It's good to be going ahead with another episode. It's really exciting. This one, as we discussed in the previous episode, is to do with how to book your first wedding, and your first wedding, as in your own booking, not a second shooting gig, not a assisting gig. This is your gig. This is your wedding. Primary shooting, your first wedding. And yeah, scary for some, I suppose.
I was scared.
I was scared. I was incredibly scared. And as I said in, I think, the previous episode, I shot it in JPEG. So don't make that mistake. If your camera is RAW capable, do not shoot in JPEG. That's a good pointer right there. All right, so yeah. So how have you been, Tim? It's been a while. It's
all good.
It's good to have you back.
It has. It's weird. I've got 2 weeks off for the first time, I think, this year.
I wouldn't know what that feels like. That's pretty amazing. I'd be kind of happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it means that we get to shoot and record the podcast episode. So it's good that you got some time off. It's good that I've got some time off.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just cold.
Yeah.
Winter is winter. And it's going to snow this week, which is
I'm very excited.
It's going to snow.
Should be. I think it's my first snow in Ireland. Oh, there was a little bit last year. Well, the start of this year, but I don't really count that.
Yeah, you'll enjoy the good snow when we have it. The powder. It's good stuff.
I couldn't even make a snowball at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's not good enough. But yeah, hopefully we'll get a good one, and you'll get a good idea of what a good snowfall in Ireland looks like. Yeah. All right, so episode 3. We were discussing it off air, how to book your first wedding. And again, as I said earlier, this is a really important one. It's an important step, and if you want to be a wedding photographer, you're going to have to do this. And we just want to help out and offer advice. We've both been there. As you said, you were incredibly nervous. I was incredibly nervous, but we've been there, and we're able to offer some advice as to how to do it. And yeah.
We even said before, it's interesting thinking back onto our first booking that we ever did, because now it almost feels common to get a wedding booking, but the first one, we were both so nervous for. But I think I'll ask you, what's your first point on how to book your first wedding? What are your thoughts?
I think, to me, the most important thing, it loops back to our previous episode 2, where we discussed like how to basically build your own portfolio, because that's an important step to getting your first wedding, because you need something to book the wedding off. It's not like I don't know of any couples who would just book you based on promises and rough expectations. People book you based on what they see. So having a portfolio, and having a good portfolio, is essential. I was listening to, I think it was a podcast recently. It could have been a podcast. It could have been on YouTube. I can't remember. But this guy was speaking about portfolios and what you should show, and a lot of people are like, show as much as possible, and just flood your portfolio with as many images as possible. And to some clients that might work, but what I've found is, rather than show 100 mediocre images, to show 12 good ones. And you know what, if you've spent the time second shooting, if you spent the time even just volunteering, whatever the case may be, just working for free, you're going to have 12 images to put up somewhere, even if it's from the same wedding, one from bridal prep, one from groom prep, one from the couple session, one from the ceremony. It doesn't matter, but just make sure that they're good.
I think I said it in the last episode that I think I shot 10, 12 weddings before I actually felt like I had a good enough portfolio to show. Well, I had probably 6,000, 7,000 images across those weddings from second shooting. I didn't feel like I had enough good photos to show. And while I could have just put anything out there, I feel like they weren't portfolio worthy, and I definitely agree. Put put your best work out there, and you just need. It doesn't need to be everything, and it doesn't need to be necessarily one thing. So I think I started with couples photos only. And then I sort of went, oh, actually, these reception shots are really nice. Like, there's really nice bokeh on this. And that's variation. It's not everything, but it's some variation. So couples won't think, oh, all this guy's going to focus on is our couple shoot. We want of our guests. Show one or two of the guests. Make a part of your portfolio. But don't just be, oh, there's a person. Anyone can take a photo of a person on their phone. It still has to be good.
Exactly. Like I think I also heard it, maybe was in a course or something that I did recently, and it was, people don't necessarily book you on what you've shot and what your portfolio shows. They don't book you on artistic value. Wedding clients don't see photography and videography the way that we do. They don't look at it with a technical eye and be like, oh, that was a bit overexposed, or he didn't stop down for that shot, or whatever the case may be. They're like, they book them based on emotion. And if your portfolio shows that emotion, and the only way it's going to show emotion is to have a variety of good shots. So for the technical aspect, yes, make them good, but for the sake of your clients, make them emotional. Like, conjure up something in a client that says, I need to book this guy or this girl, whatever the case may be. I need to book them.
Yeah.
Based on how their photography or their videography has just made me feel in the instant of seeing their work.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can have the best marketing, you can have the best everything, but if you fail on that initial impression, you've lost. And I think that's important. And if you kind of get through that, you still need to, and it's one of my points that I'll deal with later, but you need to solve a problem for clients as well. Their initial interest is piqued by the emotion that you might have brought up, or the emotion that you could have portrayed in an image or in a clip, or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, they're going to book you based on a problem that you can solve for them. And their problem might be, I need a photographer. But their problem might be, I need a photographer who's good with shooting documentary. I need a photographer who shoots light and airy, or dark and moody, or whatever the case may be. And that's when you can start really niching down and booking the clients that you want to book based on what you're showing and based on your interactions with them and how you're solving the problem that they have.
Yeah.
So, and again, you know what? It does come down to marketing.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the point that we're leading into next. Marketing has many facets. Various marketing methods work, various marketing methods don't work.
Yeah.
And what's your take on it? Like, what is your main, how do you market?
Yeah. So
in a nutshell.
Marketing's always been an interesting one for me because I haven't done too much paid marketing in my time. I've done a little, but so basically step one has always been have a portfolio and have a good portfolio. And then you obviously can't book a wedding with just a portfolio. You need to sort of get out there. You could sit there and sit at home on the couch and be like, okay, I've got all the photos. Why aren't people booking me? Well, they haven't heard of you yet. Yeah. And the main marketing I've done is word of mouth. I'm generally very good with people. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. And then they hear my story, and that's one way I've gotten my name out there. And the other is social media.
Yeah.
As I say, not too much of myself with paid advertising, but one big thing I found is on Instagram and Facebook is being consistent. So basically posting every day, and there's so many ways around it with algorithms where someone will say post 3 times a day, only post at night, post 9 o'clock. To be honest, if you're just posting constantly, once a day, once every 2 days, once every 3 days even, I'd say twice a week, people will pick up and notice you. And even talking to them. So one thing I used to do was I had the portfolio, and my Instagram was my portfolio. I don't even think I had a website in the
Yeah.
first few months. Before when I got my first booking, I don't think I had a website. I definitely recommend getting a website though. That is very important. But I think I just had an Instagram page with maybe 40 or 50 shots.
Yeah.
And I just talk to people and they'd be like, "Oh, you're a wedding photographer. Oh, cool. Can I see your stuff?" And I just pull up my Instagram and they'd be like, "Oh, let me follow you." Boom. There's a follower and there's a potential client.
Yeah.
And then that person could go off and say, "Oh, check this guy's portfolio. It was really cool. Follow him on Instagram." And that's basically how I started is just with a simple portfolio on a social media platform. And that's how I marketed, basically got my first wedding. And from there, it just built on.
Yeah.
I know you have a bit more experience in the Google and the Facebook side and advertising on that. Tell me about that.
Well, look, you know, for a while, I suppose, you know, I was very much word of mouth, especially back in South Africa. It was pre the popularity. I wouldn't say pre the advent of like Facebook ads. I can't remember, but you know, Facebook ads certainly weren't what they are today in terms of being absolutely everywhere. So it was just word of mouth and just being present and showing up, you know. Obviously social media back then was limited. This was also pre-Instagram or pre me being on Instagram. I think Instagram may have been around in some shape or form. But it was largely Facebook at that stage. But as I progressed, as the business progressed, I went down the rabbit hole of Facebook marketing. Facebook marketing is now the backbone of my business. I'm almost constantly running ads. And then one of the other things that I've recently gotten into is actually Google ads.
Yeah.
I didn't know too much about it, and I kind of overcomplicated it in my own mind. And I was like, I'm not going to do it because it just seems complicated. But then when you spend the time and you put the effort in and you kind of just get a rough idea of what it's about, it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And now a lot of my bookings are actually Google ads. The majority, I would say, is still 70% are Facebook and or Instagram. And the rest are, you know, largely Google ads with a little bit of word of mouth, you know, kind of built into that. But, you know, Facebook, Instagram is the place to be. As you say, you know, being consistent is key.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel as wedding photographers and videographers, it's difficult.
Yeah. Definitely.
I know that if I'm editing or if I'm shooting a wedding, I don't necessarily have time to be present on social media, even if it is just a post. It still takes up a lot because you need to think about what you're posting.
Yeah.
You know, if you're posting something from a wedding, you want to be tagging other vendors. You want to be doing all that kind of stuff. And that takes time. It takes effort. It takes, you know, you need to sit down and actually focus on what you're doing, not just willy-nilly throwing something out there.
I think we could probably do a whole podcast just on social media posting, because it is such a vital part of our business, but there's so many aspects to it. It's not just, I've got a pretty photo, let me put it up.
That's it.
It's much more, and it even goes back to our last one, show what you want to shoot.
Yeah.
You're not going to show something on Instagram that you don't want to shoot further. So
that's it.
It is an important aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment. I do find word of mouth I personally find word of mouth very, very difficult in Ireland. So if you're listening to this or you're watching this on YouTube and you're not based in Ireland, this probably doesn't apply to you. But I find that if you are, word of mouth personally isn't strong here. I've had inquiries, but very, 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 very few inquiries in comparison. And that's not to say that I've done a bad job. You know, couples love my work, so it's not like I've done a bad job. I just feel like word of mouth is sometimes very, very difficult to work with. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of established photographers who, you know, have probably done generations of wedding photography for certain families, and that's then the photographer that they're going to choose because that's their photographer. So depending on where you are, different marketing works, different marketing doesn't. But if you are just starting out, definitely look at the likes of Facebook and Google. If you do want to look into Google, it's definitely worth, you know, looking into and exploring as an option. And then another thing, you know, I know that we're both pretty active in various Facebook groups. we're obviously active in our own Facebook group. Just putting that out there. So if you are looking for a Facebook group, join our community on Facebook, the Creative Collective. We'd love to have you there. But that aside, we're both part of wedding groups. Locally, I know I'm part of a couple of wedding groups abroad, and they're a great place to actually just, number one, network. Number two, offer advice, offer help, offer assistance, whatever the case may be, to couples. And it doesn't need to benefit you. If someone's looking for an officiant and you have a really good officiant that put their name out there. Help others, and then in so doing, you will be helping yourself, because people basically learn to know you as, number one, a center of influence and someone who can be trusted with information and with advice and with that kind of thing. And once people trust you, it's very, very easy to turn couples into clients from that point onwards. But what is your impression of the Facebook group side of things?
So we're pretty similar. We're both on a lot of Facebook groups, and some of them are just people looking for wedding photographer, and you might get 80 comments in an hour, and those are out there, and those have. We're a part of them. We don't comment too much, to be honest. But the other ones where it's more, do you have a florist, or do you know an officiant? Because we've been in the industry so long, and we've met so many people along the way, we do have those contacts, and it might be a simple, it's this person, and then they have to go and Google. We might not have the number available or necessarily the Instagram page available, but we have the name, and they'll go find it. And being a part of that, people then trust what you have to say, and you don't need it to benefit you. It's not going to be, you've now helped the officiant. The officiant's going to help you at some point. That might not happen, and you have to manage your expectations on that. It might never come back to you, but I think, what we've experienced is it does come back to you in some way, and that is important. Is just also having your name out there. People might say, "Oh, this guy's commented quite a lot. Maybe he's actually onto something. Let's go check his portfolio."
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but you're not trying to I can't think of the word, flash people with your name all the time. That flash marketing is just see Tyron Ross, and eventually book you. That's not exactly what you're going for, but that is a part of it as well. Yeah. And it is important. Tyron Ross, I didn't know him, and I was actually so scared to message him. And I got a mate of mine, he came and Tyron did video, I primary shot, and a friend of mine second shot. And he's now second shot for us on what, 10, 15 weddings since?
Yeah, look, he's a part of the finisher now.
He is. He's going to be on here someday.
If we had a bigger table, he would be here right now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So if he's listening to this, he knows exactly who he is. But
but I think both myself and him were like so nervous to message Tyron in the beginning. We were like, oh, Tyron's like, he's this big name in the industry. He's big name in Ireland. Like, he knows what he's doing. We're small fish. I don't know Ireland weddings enough. I obviously know what I'm doing. And one day he asked for a second shooter, and I messaged him. And then my friend, basically, Tyron asked me, he's like, do you know anyone who can second shoot? And I was like, look, I have this guy. Like, if you want to try him out, let's have him on. Yeah. And as I say, he worked with us. And even him, on the wedding day, he was like, I have a friend who's heard of Tyron. And he was like, oh, I can't believe you got to work for him. You're so lucky. And I've known Tyron now for almost a year. And I was like,
it's not all that great.
No. I was like, what was I ever scared of? You just, and from a Facebook group. It was such a simple message from a Facebook group. And it was because he knows what he's talking about in the industry. And he became so trusted. And that was such a big thing for me is now I just from messaging him on Facebook, from groups, from his knowledge, I've now got to learn even more. And it's just a simple Facebook group. That's all it was. It wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't marketing. It wasn't paid. It was just finding someone. And I see such value in those groups.
Absolutely.
Myself,
absolutely. And that leads me on to the next point that we have, and that's providing value. And I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. Couples do not want a transactional relationship.
Yeah.
They do not. Yes, there are couples out there. Guaranteed there are couples out there who just want you to pitch up, deliver your images, deliver your films, whatever the case may be. and just be done.
Mm.
But most couples are not like that.
No,
Most
definitely
couples want you to provide value to them. It's not that they're looking for something from you, but 99% of the time, it's their first wedding.
not. Yeah.
They have no idea what they're doing. So if you can provide value and be like, listen, I'll take care of this. Don't worry about that. Here's a free planner that I swear by. Whatever the case may be, provide value. If you provide value to your clients, even after they become your client, that is the answer. I
Yeah.
personally feel to being successful as a wedding photographer, wedding videographer, and even as a photographer and videographer in other genres. Like clients are clients. If you're providing value to someone and they value what you do in return, there's just, I mean, it's a perfect match.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me into the next thing, which is your clients want you to help them solve a problem. And I mentioned this earlier. It could be any problem. It could be my wedding's next week. I don't have a photographer. I need a photographer. And if that's your client, that's your client. That's fine. But you need to get, the preference, I would say, and certainly my preference, is to get to the point where I'm solving specific need or specific requirements from very specific couples as a very specific wedding photographer and videographer.
Yeah.
And that's how you're going to niche down. You're going to be the trusted vendor in the instance of wedding photography and videography. But if you help them solve a problem, that's it.
Yeah.
Everything that you need to be done is done at that point, and all they need to do is sign on the dotted line, I think.
Yeah, I think so. After you've got your portfolio and you're at the stage of you've advertised and they're wanting to book you,
Yeah.
at that point, they might say, okay, how does the day work? And that's a problem that they need help with.
Yeah.
You have hopefully second shot at this point, and you'll know, okay, I start with the guys. I'll need 10 minutes travel time, go to the girls. Okay, bride's in a dress.
Yeah.
That's when I head off to the church, just so you're aware. And that's a wedding timeline. And they don't know that. They're sort of thinking, okay, I'm going to get in my dress and go to the church, get married, go have fun and party. Like, you need to say, okay, family photos. Look, are you traveling half an hour to a ceremony? To a hotel after your ceremony? Is the hotel special to you? If it's not, then do the family photos. Get them out the way at the church. That's one thing I've realized in Ireland is people love. It's so much easier having family photos done at the church, and that's something I've just learned and picked up.
Yeah.
And that's me helping them solve a problem for later, because they're going to get to the reception. They're going to want to have drinks with their friends, but then someone's going to say, "Oh, aren't we doing family photos?"
Yeah.
If you have the knowledge to say, "Do them here, get them done out the way," they'll be like, "Oh, you know exactly what you're talking about."
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's throughout the whole day. Oh, when should we do speeches? When's the best time? Before, after dinner? Obviously, that's subject, but you can say, oh, you know what? Sometimes it's better after dinner, because if you don't have a lot of canapes, then they're pretty hungry and they don't want to listen to you speak for an hour. They'd rather eat and then listen to you speak. That's something we know and we've seen. And we can say, oh, how are the canapes? And they go, yeah, there's a big load. So actually we'll do speeches before dinner.
Yeah.
Great. Then that gives them time to digest and then eat. And that's helping them solve a problem. That's in the smallest way. Because of your knowledge, you're providing value and you're helping them solve a problem.
Yeah.
That's just something I found over the last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And that, at that stage, they're your client. So the hard work is largely done.
Yeah.
They've booked you. You're their photographer, or you're their videographer, or you're both. But that is almost going to lead to word of mouth.
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, he knew exactly what he's doing. We were so relaxed on the day because he knew what he was doing.
It.
He or she knew what they were doing.
Yeah. And that, like, as I said, word of mouth isn't, personally, it isn't huge. I haven't gotten a huge amount of bookings off word of mouth. But if you're leaving a good enough what's the word? If you leave a good enough impression
Yeah.
on your clients, there are going to be inquiries that are coming to you from word of mouth from couples, whether they book or not. I mean, that then goes to that goes to your portfolio, that goes to your, providing value to them, how you're going to solve their problems. But it's going to lead to leads.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to couples inquiring and being like, hey, you shot my sister's wedding, or you shot my friend's wedding. I was in the bridal party, whatever the case may be. We loved how you were on the day. They speak highly of you. We love the images. What are your prices?
Yeah.
When are you available? What is this? What is that? And then, if it turns into something, it does. And if it doesn't, it hasn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
It hasn't cost you anything to actually do that.
You knew what you were doing, and they wanted you.
That's it.
That's it.
So yeah, in a nutshell, I mean,
That's
how it goes.
That's how it goes. Have a good portfolio.
Yeah.
Work on your marketing. Display that portfolio somewhere.
Yeah.
And then provide some value and help them solve a problem. And that essentially would help you book a wedding.
Yeah. Absolutely. And obviously this is kind of a high level overview of everything. We're not going into specifics about Facebook ads and Google ads and stuff like that. If it is something that you want to hear about, let us know. Yeah. Drop us a comment on our YouTube channel. Join the Facebook group. Let us know that you'd like to know more about it, or if you have an idea that you'd like us to even speak about, let us know. Yeah. And the same goes for guests. We were chatting about that off air, who we're looking forward to actually having on the podcast. There are a couple of names that are popping up, and I'm looking forward to getting some of them on. Yeah, I must be honest. And the same applies to our listeners as well. If there's someone that you want to hear on our podcast, let us know. Give us their name, give us some of their contact details or Instagram page or whatever the case may be, and we'll try and get them on. Yeah, we can't guarantee it, but we'll try. Yeah, and we just want to provide value to you guys, our listeners, our viewers. That's what we're here for, providing value, and I suppose learning in the process. As we discussed, I think in episode 1, we're going to be learning as well. Yeah, and that's the beauty of this industry. You never stop learning, and it comes in a variety of different formats. And I think that's it for episode 1.
I think that's
episode 3 actually. Episode 1. We're far past episode 1 by now. But yeah, I think that's it. Again, if you're not on the Facebook page or the Facebook group, we have a small but growing community on there. We'd love to have you over there. If you are listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast, we would love a review, even if it's just a 5-star with nothing said. Whatever the case may be, let us know that we're doing a good job. And if we're not doing a good job, let us know how we can improve. Yeah. What can we improve on? What can we do less of? What can we do more of?
And if you want to know anything specific for an episode, just, I don't know, put it in the comments somewhere. Say, please do one on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going forward, as we mentioned, we might mention different websites, different courses, different people. We'll put them in the show notes as well. So you'll have reference to go back. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm done.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me. It's appreciated. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you
on the next one.
In the next episode.